And welcome to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Brian Quawanta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as Neil Major, senior investment advisor.
I can't help but laugh.
Oh, why? It was good. I thought it was perfect. Oh, my goodness.
So close. She's getting closer. She's getting closer. She's getting closer. Neil will work on it after hours.
Oh, my gosh. That is the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to pull that out later, but I have it phonetically spelled.
Yeah, from our very first show.
Oh, my gosh,
very
like
first
a year
show.
and
One of
a
those
half,
words.
2 years
It's
ago.
just one of those words.
Just can't roll off the
We all
tongue.
have those.
So I love Neil Major. That's so easy.
Pretty
I can
easy.
never mess that up.
Pretty easy, yeah.
We're going to let him take over the show.
And special guest Brian Q.
Yeah, right, that's it.
Right. That's it.
Oh, so gentlemen, I know it's been a very busy time for you. Obviously, you're so passionate about helping people retire with confidence, retire comfortably. Brian, what's life been like in the office lately?
Busy. Always busy. But a good busy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, to me, you know, my kind of test to how things are going at the office is how many people are we helping? And it seems to be we're helping a lot of people lately. So I think the show has a lot to do with that. You know, and I think once people come in and they really get an idea of what real retirement planning looks like, it's really special for them to see what, you know, 30, 40 years worth of work can actually do for them long-term in retirement. So very, very busy at the office.
Sure. Neil, what types of questions are you hearing more than anything else right now from your clients coming in?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different things that people are focused on. I mean, obviously, tax rates is a big question that almost every single, I would say 100% of people talk about because, you know, the expectation is that in the future, tax rates are going to increase, especially with a lot of the stimulus packages and things like that. And with just being in such a low tax bracket right now, they know it's coming. And so they want to just make sure that they are prepared and plan to do the right things, take the necessary steps to go about making sure that they're prepared as those tax rates potentially increase to 20, 30, 40%. So what can we do now to help us prepare for the future for tax rates? It's always interesting the types of questions that we get into the office.
Big one is, are we on the right track?
Are we on the right track?
Everybody wants to know, are we doing the right things? Or, you know, are we on the right track? And for a lot of people, the reality is they're not on the right track because they're focused on the wrong part of planning.
Yeah.
Most people are focused on the accumulation side of planning, and they're not focused on the distribution side. And what we have to understand is that there are two different sides of planning, and you have to understand these two different sides. If you do, then you're going to be able to build a really good plan. But most people are focused on this accumulation phase.
Sure.
And that's easy. I mean, you're just putting money away, you're trying to grow it. Most people are doing that in some type of retirement account, like a 401k, 403b, something along those lines. But it's when you retire, the distribution phase, you've got to have that set up right. And we talk about it all the time on the show. There's 5 key areas that have to be handled.
Yeah.
It's income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy planning.
Yeah.
And if you follow the best practices on each of those areas, you're going to have a really good, secure, sound retirement. But a lot of times people, when they're meeting with advisors, they might just talk about performance. They're not talking about cash flow planning or tax planning or health event planning. I mean, you look at the cost of a nursing home these days, and you look at the cost of what it would cost you just to ensure that you would have money for a nursing home.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody's ever gotten a quote on long-term care insurance, I mean, most people would say, you know, forget it, I'll take the risk, which I don't blame them because it's very, very expensive. But I would also say that probably, you know, am I getting the return for the risk that I'm taking? We hear that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that, you know, we do in our offer here today. And I know that you'll talk a little bit more about it later, but, you know, we offer a portfolio analysis. So we have a really great third-party independent software where we're able to put folks' positions into this software and the dollar amount that they have in each position, and it's able to generate us a report. So typically what we'll see is that maybe people are taking way too much risk for maybe the current stage in life that they're at, but also maybe they're taking too much risk for the actual return that they're getting. You know, maybe they're taking a really high amount of risk and they're only seeing a 5 or 6% return.
Okay.
And we know we're able to make some adjustments there to to level that out, actually reduce the risk, but increase the return. I mean, the portfolio analysis takes a look at fees, what fees they're paying. A lot of people don't understand. They might say, well, I pay my advisor, 1 or 2%, but there's a lot of, mutual fund expenses and things like that. So a lot of times those fees within the mutual funds can really eat away the return.
Sure.
So this report, is just invaluable to understand, exactly what you're doing and exactly, what tweaks can we make to improve this and put you in a better position now that you're moving into a different phase.
I think people are always very surprised with how much risk they really are taking. A lot of people think they're a lot more conservative than what they are.
Yes.
Or we'll hear a lot of times that the markets have been doing well, but they haven't been getting the returns.
Yeah.
And to Neil's point about fees, fees reduce your gains and they compound your losses because the fees are always going to come out.
Sure.
Right? If I get a 10% rate of return, I'm paying 2% in fees. I'm only going to get an 8% rate of return.
Yeah.
But if I lose 10%, I still got to pay the 2% in fees. So now I'm down 12%. Now imagine if you're taking money out at that point in time too.
Sure.
If you're taking another 4 or 5% on top of that, it becomes a big problem. And this is why the portfolio analysis, which the Riskalyze program that we use, it's very, very powerful. Most people have never had that done before, and it's a very eye-opening. And it's not until you know where you are that you can figure out where I need to go.
Sure.
And that's just how it works. We have to understand where you are, and then we can kind of put together a step-by-step guide of how to get to where we need to get. And sometimes it's just making small adjustments that are better suited for that distribution phase of life.
Sure. So Neil, it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all approach when you're designing a plan for someone. It sounds like it's definitely tailored to that person's needs.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, because people come in with entirely different goals, right? I mean, some people, their goal is to leave a legacy to their family, to their children. Other people come in and say they want their the last check they write to the undertaker to bounce, right? So they want to make sure that they have a lot of income generated. So, obviously we wouldn't want to have those people in the same sort of portfolios because one person who has no desire to leave money to their children is going to be more growth oriented. But we also have to do a lot of legacy planning and tax planning for that person to make sure that when the good Lord decides to take that person home, that Uncle Sam's hand's not in there as well as an equal partner. So, there's a lot of different things that we have to do, and we really have to sit down and listen and understand, exactly what their goals are, what their needs are, what their situation's going to be like. And, sometimes we have to add in our expertise because a lot of people, come in and they're not really sure what things are going to look like. So we have to kind of give them that guiding hand and just show them what things are going to look like and how we can help.
Yeah, that's a really, a compliment to our systems and processes that we've built. Because without a good system, without a good process, you got to have a process or a system. If you don't, you're going to fall for anything. And then when times get tough, you're not going to follow a system. And you have to. It's so critical. And so the portfolio review that we offer is going to go through these 5 key areas. It's going to look at the investments. It's going to look at the income. It's going to look at taxes, healthcare, and legacy planning. So we can figure out, for this person, we might customize a portfolio this way. For this person, we might customize it completely different. This person may have already done some good tax planning. This person may have not done good tax planning. These people might not have children. These people might have kids. Everybody's situation is different, and there are different strategies based on how your life is, right? I mean, do you have family members? How many do you have? Are you an only child? Do you have brothers and sisters? Do you have children, grandchildren? It all makes a difference when you're building a portfolio and trying to achieve what you want. And to Neil's point, a lot of people might say, look, we took care of the kids. We paid for their college. We paid for everything. We helped them get started with their houses. They're on their own. So what I'm going to tell you, folks, is take advantage of the portfolio review that we're going to give, because for the next 10 callers, you've got to do your part, though. You've got to pick up the phone. If you call 1-888-382-1298, we're going to give you a complimentary portfolio analysis. Now, we've seen other people charge up to $1,000 or more for these reviews. We're going to do it at no cost. The risk is literally on us because we don't know if we're going to be a good fit. We're not sure if we're really going to be able to help, but you will be educated about where you are and where you need to go. So do your part, pick up the phone, schedule today. It's 1-888-382-1298.
Brian, thank you so much. Neil, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone lines are now open. That number to call is 888-382-1298. We know you have a lot of questions about how to plan for retirement. Brian and Neil are offering you the opportunity to come in to sit with them and let them take a look at what you currently have in place. Now, we have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to ask Brian why age 59 and a half is very important to keep in mind. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined with Brian Q, President and Founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as Neil Major, Senior Investment Advisor. See, easier.
That was perfect.
Yes, score.
Brian Q, it's done.
Yeah, it's just so easy.
Cynthia, you deserve a mic drop today.
Love it. Well, Brian, I want to talk to you a little bit, of course, about age 59 and a half. Why is that so important and so special, and why should we talk about that?
It's such a big deal. You know, it's interesting because I know you hear this a lot because we talk about the 59 and a half rule quite a bit. People don't realize that at 59 and a half, you have the ability to exit your company 401k, no taxes, no penalties, even if you're still working. It's what we call an in-service withdrawal.
Okay.
So a lot of people say, look, I got to get set up for retirement. And, you know, what my companies offer me as far as my 401k, it's just not structured for distribution planning. It's really structured for accumulation. So as you get 5 years away from retirement, it's a good idea if you're 59 and a half to look at the possibility of doing an in-service withdrawal. And what that means is that you're going to be able to roll the money from your 401k to a self-directed IRA where now you have way more options than what you would have in your 401k. It doesn't close your 401k. So it still keeps your 401k open and you still get your contributions, you get your matching and all that. So it's a really nice strategy for people to explore to see if it would benefit them to execute something like the 59 and a half rule.
That's fantastic. I hadn't heard of that before, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers in the audience are agreeing with that they are hearing this for the first time as well.
Most people don't, yeah.
Yes. So, Neil, I want to talk a little bit more, if we could, about the basic fundamentals of a well-designed plan. Can we break that down a little bit further?
Yeah, and to Brian's point, you know, with what you have available to you in the 401k typically just is not the base of a well-designed financial plan, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's important to start to structure your investments for retirement.
Yeah.
So you really want to make sure that you have, you know, a lot of people are talking to us about risk. So typically there's some pretty decent risk options in the 401k, but at the point that they're at in their life, they want to start to bring down that risk number.
Sure.
To make sure that their retirement isn't pushed back 3, 5, 7, 10 years with a market correction. So, you know, really the structure is we want to set aside really 10 to 15 years of income producing investments where we just want to get a reasonable rate of return that we can generate income from. And then on the balance of the money, we really want to take a growth approach. So we know we buy something very, very important with that money, and that's time. So if
Yeah.
we have 10, 15 years, we can allow the market to go through corrections, things like that. We're not taking any withdrawals from that money, and we have that time. So, but there's a lot more, and you know, Brian talked about the 5 key areas that we focus on: the income planning, the investment planning, healthcare planning, tax planning, legacy planning. We make sure that we're very sound in all 5 of those key areas in order to build a successful retirement for folks.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, you know, and I just want to add to what he's talking about because,
Yeah.
you know, he's referring to what we call our bucketing approach, right?
Okay.
So when you get to retirement, one thing you'll learn at Secure Money Advisors is we believe in buckets of money,
Okay.
right?
All
Because
right.
most people can understand buckets, right?
Absolutely.
And as Neil was saying, you need a bucket of money that we set aside for income. And the reason is because there's this risk that shows up in retirement that people don't know about, and it's called sequencing risk. And it's the order in which you receive your returns over time of how well your portfolio is going to do. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
At our educational event, which by the way, if you want to come to one of our educational events, just go to securemoneyadvisors.com. You can go to our events tab and you can look at where one of our next educational events is going to be. But we do a case study where we have Big Brother Bill and Little Sister Jill, okay? And Big Brother Bill has his portfolio of $1 million and Little Sister Jill has her portfolio of $1 million.
Okay.
The interesting thing about it is they have the exact same portfolio, all right? The only difference is Bill's gonna retire 3 years earlier than his sister, that's it.
Okay.
So what happens is when they start to take withdrawals from their accounts, okay, just because of the order of the returns, the sequence of the returns of the market, one has $2 million after 20 years of retirement, and one has no money after 20 years of retirement.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing. And this risk only shows up in the distribution phase. And this is
Wow.
why I've said a number of times, the strategies and techniques that you use during the accumulation phase are not the same strategies and techniques you're going to use during the distribution phase.
Yeah.
It's going to get you in trouble if you do that because of these sequencing risk that exists within these portfolios. And nobody's talking about this. You know, everybody talks about this 4% rule as far as, you know, the gospel way of generating income.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's under a lot of criticism lately too. But
Yeah.
when we talk to people about, tell me a little bit about your income strategy and how you're going to do it, most people say, nobody's ever talked to me about how I'm going to generate income. Other people will say, well, you know, we're gonna withdraw 4%. Well, the 4% rule, the Wall Street Journal just said if you try to follow this 4% rule, there's up to a 57% chance that your plan could fail if you follow this 4% rule.
57%.
Up to a 57% chance. So think
Wow.
about that. If you're building a retirement plan, do you want a potential 57% chance of it failing?
Not at all.
I think if people knew that, think about it like this. Let's say you're about to get on an airplane, right? And this airplane's headed for Hawaii. And right before we're about to get back out of the gate, the captain gets on the intercom and he says, folks, I just want you to know there's a 57% chance we may not make it to Hawaii and we're going to crash into the ocean. How many people would stay on that plane? Most people will say none.
Yeah.
And then you'll ask people, well, what risk would you be okay with? Would you be okay if there was only a 47% chance of the plane crashing in? They say no. What about 20% chance? No. What would the chance need to be? 0.
Yeah.
0. And this is why we use a bucketing approach, because we want to get to the highest probability of success for the portfolio. And most people have a very low probability of success with the portfolio because they're just not building the distribution phase the right way.
Sure, sure. That makes sense. I have to ask a question. The 4% rule, has that changed due to inflation, Neil?
Well, there's a lot of changes with the 4% rule. One,
Yeah.
the volatility of the market is
Okay.
unlike we've ever seen before. I mean, you're seeing things occur like last March where the market went down very, very significantly, very, very quickly. Things like that because of the automatic trading and things like that, but also the bond yields. So what are the safe investments available to retirees today? With the bond yields being so low, they're not a great option. With what the banks are offering, CDs and stuff like that, I know that we've all tried to get some short-term return, and there's nothing available.
Yeah.
So that has really impacted and affected the 4% withdrawal rule, and that's why they're saying now your withdrawal rate should really be 2 or 3%. So, I mean, think about that. If you saved $1 million and you were anticipating $40,000 from your portfolio, now they're saying cut that in half and only take $20,000. You know, most people can't do that. Remember, this is their
Sure.
pension.
Absolutely.
So there's their challenges ahead, but you know, we've really mapped out and understood, at Secure Money Advisors, what are the best safe money options available for retirees?
Yeah.
Because we tell people all the time, this is not a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
People that are retiring are typically in their best earning years, and we're not going to say, hey, sorry, the plan didn't work. I know you're 75 years old. We need you to go back to work. What can you go and do? You're not going to find that high-paying job again.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why we plan so very soundly to make sure that this is going to go according to how we designed it.
And it's why we do the portfolio review.
Absolutely.
You don't want to make a mistake. As Neil said, you don't get a second chance at this. It's not a dress rehearsal, please. Most people think they have time. And the greatest commodity that you don't have much of anymore is time. So don't kick the can down the road. Pick up the phone, call us, 1-888-382-1298. Get a complimentary portfolio analysis from us. We will go through the 5 key areas with you that we continue to talk about: income, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy planning. Do your part, pick up the phone, schedule that complimentary review today. You'll be happy you did it. We've seen people charge up to $1,000 or more for what we're going to do at no cost, but you've got to do your part, 1-888-382-1298.
Brian, thank you so much. Neil, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone lines are now open. That number to call is 888-382-1298. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to have so much more with Brian and Neil. Please stay tuned.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Brian Kowanta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as Neil Major, senior investment advisor. Yay!
Yeah.
Wonderful, right?
Good. You did it perfect.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Yay! Well, I love this part of the show, gentlemen, because we have viewer questions, and I love that people are paying attention and they're writing their questions down and they're calling in with them. Do we have time to go through a few?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Brian, we have a question actually regarding the Secure Act. They would like to know, Brian, I heard there are some new changes to the Secure Act. Can you explain what those are?
What a mess this has been. 2019, Congress changed the rules on how we can inherit IRAs. So in the past, we used to be able to inherit a family member's IRA, and we used to be able to defer paying taxes over that person's lifetime. It's called a stretch IRA.
Okay.
So I'll give you a good example. So this is kind of the horror stories that we'll hear. So there was an article, as a matter of fact, in Money Magazine about a son that inherited his father's $500,000 retirement account. Son was the primary beneficiary. The son didn't know anything about what we call the inherited IRA rules or the stretching rules. So he calls the company. He says, hey, I'm the primary beneficiary of my dad's retirement account. They say, yep, we see that. Please send us these documents and we'll go ahead and process everything. So he sends everything in. They send him a check for $500,000. 2 weeks later, he gets a 1099 showing that he has $500,000 that he received in income that year. Because of the nature of the IRAs have never been taxed before, right? They're traditional IRAs, never been taxed. So the minute that money comes out of that IRA, it all counted as income for him in the year that he received it.
Wow.
So him and his wife were making $100,000 combined together, plus they received dad's inheritance of $500,000. So now they have to pay income taxes on $600,000. The article went on to say that the tax bill that the son had to pay was over $260,000.
Wow.
Now, folks, I want to ask you, when's the last time you wrote a check for $260,000 in one day to the IRS? I want you to take it one step further. How much money do you have in your IRA accounts? Now I want you to deduct about 40% because that's the partnership that you're in with the IRS. And if you don't learn how to get them out of the picture sooner than later, you're going to be dealing with bigger problems down the road. And that's the things that we're going to show you when you come in at Secure Money Advisors.
Thank you, Brian. Neil, this is a great question. I love this question as well. Neil, I'm 10 years away from retirement. What's the most important thing I should be doing today?
Well, really, I mean, being that close to retirement, you really want to make sure that you're zoomed and focused in on those 5 key areas that we always talk about.
Okay.
So, you know, as you get closer and closer to retirement, you want to make sure that you start to reduce the risk in the portfolio. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is you experience like a 2008 market correction and your portfolio goes down 30, 40, 50%, right? Because then you're going to have to extend that retirement date out, you know, 3, 5, 7 years. Now, most people coming into our office are saying, I have a specific date that I want to retire and that's happening no matter what.
Yeah.
So you really want to start to work on that plan and look at all those 5 key areas. What can I start doing now to make sure that I'm making all the right decisions so I'm on the right track, knowing that if I do this over the next 10 years, I'll be able to hit that retirement date.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Brian, we only have about 1 minute and 40 seconds left of the show this week. Any final words of wisdom you would like to impart to the viewers at home?
Yeah, folks, what I can tell you is take advantage of our complementary portfolio analysis. It's so important for you to determine, just like Neil was talking about, for you to determine whether or not you're on the right track. Let me ask you this. If you weren't on the right track, when would you want to know that? When would you want to know? So if you come in, we can help you determine whether or not you're doing the right things. If you're not, we'll give you some advice on what you can do. If you wanted to hire us, that's fine. If you wanted to stay with your current advisor, that's fine too. But we're truly here to help. Take advantage of the portfolio analysis. It's complimentary. We've seen other people charge up to $1,000 or more, but you've got to do your part. You got to call 1-888-382-1298. When you come in, we're going to go through all the 5 key areas with you. We're going to talk about income. We're going to talk about the investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy planning. And we're going to show you the best practices in all of those areas so that you have every I dotted and every T crossed to make sure that you, your family, and your retirement are on the right track.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for another amazing show this week. To the viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us. That number to call is 888-382-1298. We know you have questions about how to plan for your perfect retirement. Brian and Neil have the answers for you. Again, the number to call is 888-382-1298. Thank you so much for spending time with us again this week. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we'll see you back here 1 week from today.